Good morning, ladies. How are you? I hope you had a great evening last night at the reception, and as I always like to hope is that you left Memphis the way you found it. But we're ready to get settled in and started. This is always fun, so I hope you enjoy it. And Carrie, if we're ready to go, I'm going to ask the tech team to pull up the next test slide so we can make sure everybody's voting device is working. You have 30 seconds to cast your vote, and once Carrie says, "Vote now," then you have 30 seconds. And you can see the slide is asking you to click number 2 on your keypad. Carrie, are we ready yet?
Ladies, you may begin voting now. I'm going to give you. Thank you, ladies. We have a successful check. Again, we're good to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Fabulous. I think we're ready. Well, will the Association Governance Dialogue please come to order? On your table is a copy of today's Association Dialogue agenda, as well as on your conference app. It lists the items to be discussed and the amount of time allotted to each. As you can see, we have a rich agenda this morning, so let me quickly review some basic dialogue procedures, and then we'll get started. We want to create an informal atmosphere for the sharing of different viewpoints. Therefore, this session is not running according to strict parliamentary procedure. We do, however, have our parliamentarian, Ann Giberson, and I can't see you because I can't see anything. Where are you? There you go. That's Ann. Thank you very much. We're glad you're here. And joining me on the dais is Susan Danish, CEO and Executive Director, Elizabeth Tominski, HALI Secretary, and Shuba Lembach, who had a little bit of a challenge with flight, is finally here. So, Laura Lee Alexander, HALI President-elect, and Renee Tusi, HALI Treasurer. The other members of the Board of Directors are seated around the room near various areas to facilitate your participation in our dialogue. If you have any questions about issues to be raised today or about a formal motion you might want to make tomorrow about an item being discussed today, please go to the business table for assistance. We do have a few basic rules to follow during the dialogue. Time has been allotted for each item on the agenda. To extend the time for discussion on any of the items, you would need to make a motion. The motion to extend time for an item is in order when the timekeeper indicates that time has expired. To make such a motion, see the teller at the microphone nearest to you, and she will guide you. A motion to extend discussion requires a 2/3 vote for passage. Time can be extended in 5-minute increments. This session is scheduled to end at 9:45 a.m., and the workshops begin at 10, so we will be very mindful of our time. Is everyone clear? You have any questions? This is supposed to be fun and engaging, so please do not worry if you don't know exactly what to do. There are people there to help you. The timekeepers today are Tom Cavalieri. Are you back there, Tom? There he is, okay. And HALI's production coordinator, and Michelle Gorenstein, HALI's creative director, and she's back there too, so that we can hear from as many delegates as time permits. We're going to ask speakers to keep their remarks to 3 minutes. And I remind you that all delegates may speak at Dialog, not just voting delegates, but only voting delegates may vote. Michelle will rise and show a blue card when each speaker is nearing the end of 3 minutes. Michelle, that's the card. Can you see it? Okay. Tom will keep track of the total time allotted for each agenda item and will rise when the time is up and will show a red card. Tom? Okay, everybody can see that. Assisting Michelle and Tom is Ann Dalton. Where are you, Ann? Right there. Okay, AJLI Chief Officer for Strategic Initiatives. Ann, did you stand? Okay, great. Assisting you at the microphones today are the members of the AJLI Governance Committee and the AJLI staff. Thank you, timers and tellers, for your hard work today. During the dialogue, some of you may want to propose a straw poll to get a sense of how the delegates feel about an issue. If so, get to the microphone quickly to make your motion. If anyone objects to taking a straw vote on any issue in question, we will put the question to a vote. A motion to take a straw poll requires a majority cast for passage. Voting delegates only seated in the front of the room will be voting on any and all items today. For straw polls, we will use electronic voting unless there is a technical issue, in which case we will use a rising vote. Tellers will not count the rising votes because straw polls are designed to give the proposer a sense of the delegate body at that time. These votes are non-binding. Is everybody clear on straw polls? Got it? The first item on this morning's agenda is the association values. Many organizations, for-profit and not-for-profit, have stated values. The United Way, the Red Cross, Save the Children, Independent Sector, and so on. Values help us define how we make decisions. They are the ideals and the ethics of an organization. It's how we live our mission. For the past 2 years, the HALI board and you, the junior league leaders, have had conversations at every conference about our proposed values. After each conference, the board took your input and made revisions, many major revisions and many small tweaks. In the call to conference, you received the version created after the Winter Leadership Conference in Long Beach. The HALI board believes that we have captured the spirit and the meaning of what it is of value to all of us when we do our work. And we look forward to a vote on the values tomorrow. But before then, we wanted to make sure that we provided some time for dialogue here if you needed to have more thoughts. As you think about speaking, let me remind you that per the rules in the call to conference, any proposed amendments to the value statements must be submitted to the conference office by 5:30 p.m. this evening. During the annual meeting tomorrow, no amendments will be allowed from the floor. If the values are adopted, they will not be a part of our bylaws, but will be shared in visible ways like the mission and the vision on our websites and the communication pieces. The reason the diversity is highlighted and set above and not part of the vote is that that was adopted a couple of years ago and already has been passed by the delegate body. But once they are adopted, that will then go into the value statements. We now open the mics to hear your thoughts, concerns, or questions. Please go to the closest mic and tell us what's on your mind about the values. And please begin by stating your name and your league. Again, each person may speak up to 3 minutes. Anyone at a mic, and I will need some help singing. I think that's a good thing. You see any? Last chance. Okay, thank you. I am very appreciative of all of the work that you have given us towards the value statements, and I will look forward to getting them approved, hopefully tomorrow. We will now move on to address the next agenda item, the Seat at the Table Task Force. Members of the task force will now join us on stage.
Hello, I'm Belinda Harris-Ritter from the Junior League of Little Rock. We are so honored to be here today to give you an update on the work of the A Seat at the Table Task Force, and even more so, to dialogue with you about a path forward for that work. In total, there are 19 of us on the task force. Up here with me today are task force members Jenna Bortano from the Junior League of Seattle, thank you. Okay, now I can be a different person. Hi, I'm Belinda Harris-Ritter from the Junior League of Little Rock. And we're honored to be here today to give you an update on the work of the A Seat at the Table Task Force, and most importantly, to dialogue with you about a path forward for this work. There are 19 of us on the task force, and with me today are task force members Jenna Bortano from the Junior League of Seattle, Andrea Brado from the Junior League of Minneapolis, Virginia Zart from the Junior League of Long Beach, and Elizabeth Keys from the Junior League of Washington. Since we started our work in October of 2017, we've had many very lively discussions. And as you can imagine, with a group our size, there have been many perspectives to consider. Overall, we found that as a task force, our diversity of opinion was actually a strength and enabled us to build the strongest vision and path forward possible.
Hi, I'm Jenna Bortano with the Junior League of Seattle. Some of you may remember that last year at annual conference in the Twin Cities, an advisory resolution passed by an overwhelming 84% instructed the AJLI board to create a task force to examine how the association could promote increased relevance of the Junior League by speaking with a unified collective voice on issues related to our collective mission, and in doing so, claim a seat at the table.
Hello, I'm Andrea Brado with the Junior League of Minneapolis, a facilitator team comprised of AJLI board members Tina Winham, Terry Broussard-Williams, and Michelle Vaith, along with AJLI staff member Aditi Dig, was formed, and the invitation to apply was sent out to all Junior League members. when we received more than 130 applications for 10 to 15 task force positions, we knew that this was a topic that the Junior League members were very, very interested in, and we were excited about that. Ultimately, 15 applicants were seated at the task force, representing large, small, and medium-sized leagues from the United States and Canada, also representing a variety of league experience. As you can see on this slide behind me, this is the many faces of the full task force. We have enjoyed serving with them immensely. It has been one of my best league experiences. We're thankful to all of them for the great work that they have put into this.
Good morning. I'm Virginia Zart with the Junior League of Long Beach, and our task force has really been hard at work. And up on the screen is just a snapshot of some of the highlights of the work that we did. We had 25 conference calls in which we dove deeply into the topic of collective voice. We leveraged internal and external benchmarking, and we sought input and feedback from our home Junior League leadership. We conducted 2 straw polls of task force members at critical milestones in the work. And we provided fall and winter leadership conference updates. Finally, our work in progress focuses on process development, the details of how this could work at the association level.
Hi, good morning. I'm Elizabeth Keys from the Junior League of Washington. And so you may be wondering, what do we mean by collective voice when we're using it here? And so, of course, this was the big question for the task force, and we spent a lot of time wrestling with it. And ultimately what we realized is that, yes, we do right now have a provision to do this through the OPALs, which are the operational policies approved by junior leagues, and that lays out a method for proposing and approving an external policy, which we define as a statement on a social or public policy issue that constitutes an area of interest to the leagues. But that's a really slow process, and it's really labor-intensive for a league that wishes to propose an issue for consideration. So as a task force, we've been looking at ways to accomplish the same thing, but in a way that better reflects the day and age in which we're living. And so as a group, we came to some key conclusions. We concluded that our collective voice has the potential to be a powerful driver of our shared mission and to build long-term relevancy for the Junior League. Or, said differently, collective voice at the association level, meaning the AJLI board representing the collective league membership, is critical for securing a seat at the table and to the long-term health and relevance of junior leagues. We also concluded that our diversity is our strength. Collective voice is possible to achieve by building on the diverse viewpoints and opinions of our full membership. And this is really worth emphasizing. A key differentiator of the Junior League is the diversity of viewpoints and opinions of our collective membership, both our individual leagues and our individual league members. We also concluded that we must take great care in using our collective voice wisely in a deliberate and principled manner. We knew that it was important to establish guardrails for collective voice to best represent the full association, meaning all 291 leagues. And to that end, we identified two key guiding principles. First, the individual leagues be given opportunity to review and offer feedback on the use of collective voice at the association level, since that is on behalf of all of the leagues, including a mechanism for a league to opt out should an insurmountable conflict arise. We also came to the guiding principle that the AJLI board, which is elected by all of us as leagues, has final approval on collective voice activity, taking into consideration feedback received from individual leagues.
Thank you. The task force has recommended that this work continue into the 2018 and 2019 year, including working closely with the AJLI board to finalize many of the details of how this will work. As part of this work, the task force would continue to reach out to individual leagues for input and feedback to help us shape the work. And for today, what we would really like to have happen is to have dialogue from you about the fundamental principles just outlined and how those will frame the work as it goes forward. You've heard the guide rails. They are, first, the junior leagues have the ability to review any proposals, and second, that the HALI board will have the final approval. So we would like to take time now for discussion, and the timers will alert us when our time is up. Anyone want to step to the microphone?
Speaking at microphone 4.
Hi, I'm Heather Viola from the Junior League of Monmouth County. I agree with guide rail number 1, but I'd be interested in knowing what kind of timeline you're thinking of for the feedback and review process. I have concerns about how long it will take for all the leagues to get involved and if that might slow down our ability to respond to issues in a timely manner.
So that is part of the work in moving forward, is really looking at the details of how the procedures would work and move forward in a timely manner. We've had a lot of discussion about this, and that's part of what we really want to focus in on, the working ahead aspect.
And I think one of the conversations that we've had quite a bit is around the word nimble. How do we make this process more nimble? So it's definitely front of mind as the task force is considering how we move this forward.
Thank you.
Speaking at microphone 6.
Hi, Teresa McCormick, Junior League of Minneapolis. You touched on in the beginning that our strength is in our diversity, and we certainly all come from diverse communities representing diverse membership. So my question is around how you plan to leverage our diversity around this common voice and to advance this common voice.
Thank you. The fact that we've had so much diversity on the task force brought up something really interesting in each of our calls. The fact that when we had very diverse opinions, we found that while those were expressed, we were able to find common ground as we moved forward in our conversations. It was from the common ground that maybe started as little pieces of common ground, but as we worked through talking about everything, we found more common ground. And we found that our collective voice comes from that common ground. So we were able to do that on the task force quite a bit. We have great confidence that we can do that as an overall organization as we move forward.
And I would also add that while we are all diverse leagues, we have one mission that ties us. So we have really used our mission as our driving force, and that's really what brings us all together today and every day.
Other thoughts, concerns, questions? That's it? Okay. Speaking at microphone 6.
Hi, my name is Gabrielle, Junior League of Binghamton. Considering that some of the policies might have conflicting values in our diverse membership, will leagues be given materials and research to help bridge the conversation when there might be internal conflict with what a collective voice policy might propose for an individual member?
Hi, that's a great question. And that's definitely something that we have talked about how we do bridge that gap. I don't know that we've gotten into the specifics yet of, if this happens, AJLI will produce X, Y, and Z, but that is certainly top of mind because you're right, if we've got that gap in our own memberships, this doesn't work. So I think that's a great question and something that we're really focused on.
Thank you.
Speaking at microphone 4.
Kim Boucher, Junior League of Ogden, Utah. I guess mine is similar to her comment and was really just to say, I hope that as this proceeds, and I'm sure you've already talked about, but that these conferences would become an opportunity for then educating and bringing in outside counsel on the issues that would be presented. That's something that I really wish was a part of these. I mean, these conferences are amazing, but I really wish that we did have a little bit more time to spend on issue-based advocacy. And so I hope that's something that could come about from this task force. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Speaking at microphone 4.
Hi, thank you for your work. I'm Claire Bailey from Junior League of Norman, Oklahoma. My question goes less to the procedure and more to the substance of what the task force does. What is the goal for the final outcome? What does this look like practically when it's all said and done and you present your work? What are we trying to accomplish?
Sure. Thank you for that question. And I would say, so the original proposal that was voted on in Minneapolis last year was to leverage our collective voice. And so it's the whole goal of the task force is to figure out how the association can have a seat at the table when conversations are happening that are mission driven. And so that is what we have been talking about every week on our calls. Trying to figure out how we get to that point. And so the very specifics, like you said, the tactical work on how it's done is just in the beginning. The guide rails that you see are, it looks very simple, but it was amazing discussion that got us to this point because we have such a variety of viewpoints on our task force. So you have to keep in mind the original point of the task force was to figure out how we use our collective voices as an association to make change and change that relates to our mission.
May I follow up? May I follow up?
Sure.
So are we talking about community
Can you
impact?
speak up a little bit, please?
Can you
Sure. A little bit louder too.
Are we talking about community impact and changing the work that the leagues do on the ground to be similar?
No.
Okay,
That
I
is-
guess I don't understand what we're trying to accomplish in the end. What does it look like to have one voice at all the different leagues?
Sure.
So this is sort of going way back in the archives, and so this is not to suggest that this is something that we are proposing now. But so the leagues in Dalton in the 20s, there was a vaccination campaign, and all of the leagues signed on and worked towards that. Again, that's not to say that's the specific issue, but that's something that we're thinking about. In the 80s, it was breast cancer. I'm blanking on other examples, but where there is an overall statement or policy at the association level on behalf of all of the leagues, but it doesn't change if your league is focused on human trafficking or on literacy, or it just enhances that.
And I would say don't get stuck on the issue. What it is, I think we have a time. We'll finish this one.
We're near 3 minutes on this.
Okay.
But keep going.
If you look at that video that was played yesterday about all of the large-scale change that the association has done in all of our history, that video yesterday was really the driving force behind the resolution that was passed. And it's trying to get it back to where people know who the Association of Junior Leagues is as a collective body. So look at the video again. It's on YouTube. And it's those type of things that we want to get back into. And like you said, we were strong in the 20s, we were really strong in the 80s, and we've kind of moved away from that.
Thank you, I really appreciate the clarification.
Speaking at microphone 6.
Hi, I'm Alicia Love, Junior League of Cleveland, and I don't know if it'd be possible to get the advisory resolution back up there, but similar question, very specific. I appreciate the process, but I thought what we were asking for is a list, sort of, hey, here are the topics that we could take together. So I appreciate that, but when do you think we'll get to here's kind of the list of things that we consider, and how do we keep this work going? I mean, the task forces usually have a beginning and an end.
Who wants to field that question?
So the task force is going to continue through the 2018-2019 league year. What we are currently doing is assessing the current task force members' interest to see if they want to remain on the task force. And then at that point, we will review the resolution and see if the remaining task force members are still fulfilling the resolution. And our deliverable will be throughout the year doing multiple check-ins and then hopefully bringing this to the board for approval on a new policy.
Okay, speaking at, yes.
That was 10 minutes for the Q&A. Still have 4 or 5 minutes for the entire agenda item.
Okay, 4 or 5 minutes, but we can vote to extend if we need. Tom, I thought we had extend.
10 minutes, I was told we have 10 minutes for the Q&A section, so that 10 minutes is a task. We want to extend that.
I thought we had
Just one quick clarification. The task force is recommending that the task force continues. The board of directors has to approve that. So there's
Okay,
an approval.
speaking at microphone 5.
Karen Page, Junior League of Boston. You talk a lot about having a seat at the table. What have you thought about in terms of defining what that table is, and how will we build those relationships so that we secure those seats?
That's a great question, thank you. One of the things that we have talked a lot about is, and we haven't, as Andrea mentioned, we're sort of just getting into the beginning of the process, but one of the things that we've talked about is exactly maintaining that continuity, and that there probably is, in our opinion, some board or staff role to be played in that that's defined so that it's not left just out to pasture, that there is some way to move forward and to continue the work that once we've got the process in place.
Hi, speaking at microphone 6.
Hi, my name is Delane Helton. I'm from the Junior League of Chicago. My question is around the resourcing and the costs associated to this particular issue. And will the task force be looking at the costs that are associated to implementing this at the Junior League AGLI level, as well as at the local level, and what the implications will be and how we have to scope this moving forward?
So that's something we really haven't talked about much yet, that was something on our radar, but as we mentioned, it was a lot of calls to get us to these guide rails. So part of the work going forward would definitely include that. It's kind of on our checklist of things to review.
Thank you.
Other thoughts? Questions? Any final? Speaking at microphone 6.
Jessica Matthews, Junior League of Bakersfield, California. So on a broader scale or broader thought, this task force is to get us seats at the table on the federal and state levels with task force that the Secretary of State creates and things like that. Is that the right path? Does that make sense? I'm sorry. You all look.
Yes, I mean, it would include that. We're thinking national issues, global issues. We are an international association. So looking at those that would pertain globally down to our leagues.
Okay.
Yeah, if the league wants to.
Anyone else?
All right, thank you very much. We really appreciate hearing from all of you who shared your views with us this morning. And there are a number of main points that we'll take away from our conversation. Some of those we've jotted down up here, which include lead support and feedback is key, getting the details worked out, use of our collective voice, and change related to our mission, overall statement of policy on all leagues, especially the timeline for feedback, leveraging our diversity, and getting more details on resources, costs, and getting talking points to leagues through this process to help with league dialogue and educating our conference attendees on issues. We really appreciate, again, everything we've heard from you. And as a next step, our findings and recommendations will be shared and discussed further by the HALI board. And we're excited about the
Time's
potential
ended.
of collective voice. I hope you are too. Thank you.
Our time on this topic has ended.
Good morning. I don't know if you all can see me. I'm going to step up. Terry Broussard-Williams. I'm a member of the AGLI board and part of the facilitating staff and team work group that was a part of this process. One thing we want to clarify is the intent is really about how do we make our leagues relevant? What is that one thing that we can speak to that is mission-driven, that will drive what we do in our communities? So that really might not always equate to something at the local and state and federal level, but it could. So as we start on the work ahead, we hope that the board will continue this task force, but we'll look at the many things that you all mentioned, including cost, what could it look like in the field and how would it roll down? How could we educate ourselves and our members? And how can we look for partners in communities to help us also amplify that voice? So think of this as a way for us to continue to be relevant, for us to come together around one mission and issue that will always be tied to who we are in regards to our mission, our values, and our work in the community. Is there anything else? Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much, and thank you to these ladies. 25 calls, 2 straw polls did not come easy.
Thank you at the seat of the table, force members. I know how much work has gone into this report, and thank you, delegates, for some thoughtful conversation, your honesty, and always your candor. Our first dialogue topic is on opening membership to all humans, and it was submitted by Jennifer Kowat. Following this, we will begin an open mic session if there is time. So Jennifer, please come to a mic. I'd like to remind all speakers to state your name and your league as you begin speaking. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Kovach, and I am the president-elect for the Greater Fort Lauderdale Junior League. I have been a member of junior leagues for 13 years. I tell you this information to help emphasize that I love our mission and have devoted thousands of hours and dollars to our organization. I think we are the best professional development organization and leadership development organization and community impact development organization out, and I'm a member of probably 15 organizations in our community.
to allow all humans to be a part of our league. I believe we can continue our mission hand in hand with everyone to continue our focus on women leadership. I believe there's no better time than now for this change, as we ask our leagues to be all in on our diversity and inclusion initiative. I believe if we want the rest of the world to include women and provide equal access, then we need to lead by example and show that we include and accept all. I believe that we need to create a learning environment that is representative of our community, that we currently live in or want to live in the future. That it provides opportunities for all genders, so that we can learn together versus in a segregated membership policy. I understand it's easy and comfortable to stay as we are. But if we truly want to see equality for women and to build better communities, I believe that can only be accomplished if we open our membership to all and work together. I believe the Junior League should become an organization of individuals committing to promoting volunteerism, developing the potential of women, and improving communities through effective action and leadership. And lastly, on a personal note, in December I had my first child. Our child had a 50% chance of becoming a member of the Junior League in the future. Luckily for us, we had a girl. I believe
Your luck should not have anything to do with it. I believe every child should be able to join the Junior League. I believe together we will become unstoppable. Do you believe that?
We'll call for comments now. Speaking at microphone 6.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Casada, and I'm a member of the Junior League of Northwest Arkansas. Prior to that, I was with the Junior League of Miami. This is my 20th year with the Junior League, and I am very proud of it as well. I do want to make a comment about your request. I think that it comes down to the difference between equality and equity. Before I was a member of the Junior League, I went to an all-women's college. I feel that all women's colleges are still relevant today for the same reason why I believe that the Junior League needs to remain a women's organization. Okay. I'm raising 3 boys. I wish I had a daughter, but I don't. But I'm raising them to understand that one day in the future, maybe we don't need. Maybe equality could be something that we have within the league, but right now we still need that equity. And the difference between equity and equality, for those who aren't familiar, is I love this image of, and people may have seen this already, of some people standing behind a fence, looking onto the field of a baseball field. And you have a father, a teenage child, and then a really young child. And they're all standing behind the fence. And the fence is too high so that only the father can see. Equality is about all of them having the same size box. And now you have the father much higher above the fence, and you have the teenage son able to see over the fence, but the small child still can't. Equity is about not giving the father the box, giving the teenage son a small box, and maybe giving that small daughter a really big box. And when you're standing at second base and looking back at that fence, that first image with everybody on the same box, it may be called equality, but it sure doesn't look like it because they can't all see over the fence. But equity does. The Junior League, to me, is about giving women that bigger box to help each other to advance to become the trained members in our community that we need. So I applaud your efforts and your comments here today. And I do think that maybe sometime that's something we can strive for. We're just not there yet. Thank you.
Speaking at microphone 2.
Good morning. My name is Lorene Pellegrino, and I'm from the Lehigh Valley MPA League. I am a mother of a boy and a girl. I am a woman of color. I agree with my peer here who talked about equity. I understand where you're coming from. Unfortunately, right now, we don't even have a place as far as women of color as percentages in the league. So thank you. I just feel that there are other steps that we need to take first. So once we have equity among all women, then we can look at embracing and entering other genders. Thank you.
In a minute. Speaking at microphone 6.
Good morning, Christy Bettendorf, Junior League of Long Beach. I hear from sustainers all the time about how much the league has changed for the better. We have made diversity and inclusion a priority. We open our events, socials, and trainings to all. We provide service and support to all people from all walks of life. But as women, we still struggle to have our voice heard. If I asked you what it means to be a woman, some of our responses would include a variety of issues relating to inequality in many forms. We still struggle to have our voice heard. That is why we still need a woman-only space where we can feel safe, supported, and empowered as women. I identify as a woman. I am proud to be a woman, and I deserve a space to celebrate and support my fellow women.
Speaking at microphone 5.
Hi, my name is Arena Kirk. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'd like to make a motion for a straw poll, please.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. My name is Arena Kirk from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'd like to make a motion for a straw poll.
I'm sorry, we actually are out of time. First, we have to move to extend time. You have to go to a microphone to move.
Can I first make the motion to extend time?
Yes.
Perfect.
I need a second.
And now I'd like to make a motion
All
for a
those in favor of extending. Motion carries.
And now
Now
I'd like
5.
to move for a straw poll.
Okay, a movement to a straw poll requires, hold on one second. Okay. Yes. Straw poll requires a simple majority. All of those voting delegates, I heard a lot of other voices on the time, but went with the flow here. But on the straw ballot, I need a majority of the voting delegates. Okay. We okay with a voice vote? If there's no objection, I'll move to have a voice vote on the straw poll. Okay. All those in favor, hold on one second. Yes, yes. Okay, I have to get the right language. Okay. Yes, I have to get the numbers, either 1 or 2. Okay. We're going to vote Key. Carrie, I want to make sure we're in sync. Key will be for one will be for, two will be against, right?
So I believe we have a unanimous consent that we will take the straw poll. We only need to vote on whether or not to take a straw poll if there's an objection. So we can pull up the center slide.
Okay.
And as soon as that comes up, okay, is everyone ready? I'll go ahead.
All those in favor of opening membership to all humans, vote 1. All those opposed, vote 2. And Carrie will tell us when the votes are in. And when to vote.
Please
vote
vote
now.
So we have 10 votes in favor and 203 opposed.
We have extended dialogue. We have another few minutes if there are other comments. Speaking at microphone 3.
Angie Knapp, Junior League of Fargo-Moorhead, president for the second time in 20 years. Former AGLI board and AGLI nominating. And we struggled with this question about 20 years ago also. So I'm 20 years older than that, and so I'm 60 now, and here are the two comments I have. As a president who's trying to rebuild her league, a female-only organization is one of the biggest marketing niches that we have. Because there's lots of organizations. The other thing is, one of the questions I asked Vicki Clark last year in the Small Leagues Big Impact is, how do we say we're relevant to developing the potential of women now when they come into the organization with master's degrees, they're prosecutors, they're doctors? And she said, there is still value to a women's organization, and please don't take this as an exact quote, because Vicki might be after me later, but she said there is, in the workplace, in a leadership position, it's more competitive environment, and they're competing with men, typically. So it is a different dynamic to work in a collaborative with just women. And I experienced that myself because I was head of HR for US and Guatemala for a company out of India, and I was the only female executive in the US, going to meetings with all men except myself. So there's a very big difference in those dynamics. Thank you.
Speaking at microphone 5.
Meredith Palmason, Junior League of Fort Wayne, and I personally hear the thoughts and concerns as a parent of a boy and a girl. I dream of the day my daughter's a member of Junior League, but that my son supports women that are members of the Junior League. And I am energized hearing the conversation about a seat at the table, so would respectfully but casually ask AJLI how we embrace our proud history of service as a women's organization while leveraging that men support us as a women's organization. So I hear the need for inclusion and welcoming of all humans, but would just ask AJLI how to think about us and our history as women, but move forward working with all.
Thank you. Microphone 2 and then 3, and we're going to be out of time. Yes.
Hi, I'm Carrie Crompton from the Junior League of St. Louis. Thank you for raising this. I'm sure that was a lot to do that. I am the mother of 3 small boys, so I do not have a daughter who will be in Junior League, but I am raising boys who are proud of their mother, who've been in the Junior League for 13 years. And I'm also using my platform in the Junior League to teach them about volunteerism. There isn't a lot of opportunity for little boys, but I'm working to create that in St. Louis, and we've got a whole little group that we do things. They're the Super Action Justice League, because they're superheroes. They're 3, 5, and 7. But I'm using my knowledge from Junior League to empower them to do things in their community. So, thank you.
And Jennifer, speaking at microphone 3.
I just wanted to say thank you. I came to an ODI 3 years ago, and this topic I've been told this topic never been broached for the last 20 years. So I think it's an important topic, and I'm glad we got to dialogue about it, and I hope it'll continue. And we talked about when we are equal. I'd hope we can create some smart goals that are measurable, that we can all strive for, that are on this topic.
Thank you. And thank you, Jennifer, for bringing it forward. Having been a part of the first discussion around remaining all women in the late 1994 and 96, I think it was, this is something that needs to be revisited. And I appreciate your bravery to bring it forward. Thank you. Unfortunately, we've no time for open mic, but these are important discussions. Dialogue is important. I appreciate everybody's candor, everybody's heartfelt feelings, and now Susan Danish and I will provide some background to the Junior League dialogues that you're going to participate in this afternoon.
Hi, Carol.
Hi.
Yesterday morning at the State of the Association address, Carol spoke briefly about membership declines and the idea that it's going to take all of us, leagues, board, and staff, working together differently to really address those declines and change our trend so that we can really become the unstoppable organization that we know we can be.
That's right, Susan. You know, the definition of insanity, and I'm sure we all know it, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I was at a conference this year with many, many service clubs, and they are experiencing the same decline, but we don't have to be.
That is true. We do not have to be, because we are different. And so this morning, Carol and I are going to share and review some of the information that has led the board and the staff to begin to think together differently about what we can do in our new 3-year strategic framework.
And why we're so excited to be able to talk with all of you in 6 dialogue breakout sessions this afternoon.
Yes. The peak of the Junior League membership was in the 1990s when we had 190,000 members. Today, we have 140,000. In general, membership declines about 1 or 2% every year. For a short time, right before the recession, we had stabilized, but then things began to erode again.
The declines we are looking at are overall. That does not mean that all leagues are declining. There are bright spots, leagues with so many interested women that they actually hold lotteries each year, leagues with waiting lists and so forth. Of the leagues that are growing, 26% of them are large leagues, 37 of them are mid-sized leagues, and 37 are small leagues. The leagues like the Junior Leagues of Austin is up 28%, a large league.
Woo-hoo!
Lafayette, which is up 29%, a mid-sized league. And Harlingen up 29%, a small league. Let's give them all a round of applause. But here's the sobering fact. Only 48 of our 291 junior leagues are the same size or larger than they were 10 years ago. That's 16% of our leagues.
Association declines are really due to a decline in our sustainer membership. Sustainers are 60% of membership overall, and so any decline in that large a percentage of membership makes a meaningful difference. This decline means that we need to really think about sustainers differently and really lift up that value proposition of lifelong membership and give sustainers the opportunity to have a different experience in the Junior League, to make sure the value proposition is meaningful, to stop the decline. Or, and it's even an and/or, I think, we need to amp up the pipeline of new members joining the Junior League. Active membership goes up or down slightly every year. And so on the macro level, that looks like it's stable. But in fact, if women are joining the Junior League and active membership is stable, that means we're churning members. And so there's progress to be made in that area as well.
Why are we talking so much about league size? Isn't it impact that counts?
Yes, it is. But we think about it this way. The world needs more Junior League women who are empowered to create community change. And that's what we want. We want to create change. We want to lead change and to make a difference. And that is truly what we are best at in the world.
But as an organization, we are slow to change. We are 291 individual, independent 501c3 organizations. There are great things about our independence. The result has been a hotbed of innovative solutions to the most pressing community problems. The result has been many successful and innovative fundraising models, and the result has been a history of strong, community-based leaders who credit the Junior League with their ability to lead.
Absolutely. But there's another side to this. Members, current, resigned, and prospective members have told us what they need from the Junior League today to be satisfied lifelong members. They need meaningful community work. They need a well-run league. And they need a membership opportunity that meets their life stage needs. And that's really what the transformation rollouts these days are all about. And those rollouts were created by hundreds of Junior League leaders who came before you. But adoption is slow. The work is hard. Change is disruptive. And the annual turnover makes it very hard to really manage systemic change and lead that change. So we've been asking ourselves, what can we do differently? What more can we do to create positive momentum? What if we could become a truly networked, connected organization, a more symbiotic organization? What if we worked differently together to become the Junior League that the world really needs?
That's one of the questions you'll be talking about later today. Large, small, and mid-sized leagues, growing leagues and declining leagues, the AJLI board and the AJLI staff working together differently. And here are some of the ideas you'll be kicking around. There are leagues with strong community impact programs and leagues that have virtually no community programs. Yet we know that women join the Junior League to make a difference in their communities. How can we help leagues get from the very little community program to great programming quickly by leveraging another league's successful work?
Absolutely. And the same is true for leadership development programs. So many of you as leagues have these leadership programs to teach women how to become nonprofit board members, et cetera. How many of you have that kind of program? I see a fair amount of hands. And odds are that most of those programs are really very different. So what if we had a way to create the best-in-class leadership development program so that leagues that don't have those could quickly adopt them, so that we had a way for more rapid knowledge transfer? And I think that the Little Black Dress program that the Junior League of London created is an example of how a really good idea can be adopted rapidly by a number of leagues. So how can we do that even more?
Here's another idea. We know that reducing operating expenses frees up funds for leadership development and community programs. How can we create shared back-end services to free up both time and money? Things like accounting, HR, a single software provider, and so forth.
Absolutely. And here's one that might be just a little harder, maybe a lot harder. Are there things that we believe every junior league should do? Our bylaws state that every junior league must adopt the mission, that junior leagues cannot hold meetings and functions in places that are discriminatory, and that every junior league must have an annual financial review or audit, and that if a league is in jeopardy of losing its charitable status, it needs to tell the association. But are there other things that junior leagues should hold each other accountable for? Are there things that you would like to ensure that your sister leagues are doing? For example, should there be a requirement that all junior leagues attend the annual business meeting of the association? We know from the registration and the report yesterday that there are about 210 junior leagues here. So that means that there are 80 who are not. Is that okay? And are there other things?
I think you get the idea. We started this presentation with some facts and figures about us, the Junior League, internally. But there are external factors that we must add to the mix that make the time to act now.
And one of those things is Generation Z. I know many of you were in that workshop yesterday. The oldest members of Gen Z were born in 1996, and that means they are recent college graduates. This is a generation that feels an obligation to make a difference and wants to create change. And this is a generation that's very interested in being interactive learners. They prefer to learn by seeing and doing and learning in person. Isn't that the perfect description of someone who would be a fabulous Junior League member? But are we ready for them?
We're also in the midst of something big happening with women. I feel it, don't you? Women, like never before, are finding their voices, are coming together to address issues, are creating coalitions, and the women who can make the most difference, some believe, are the women in this room who are our members. Women who have the opportunity and the obligation to create change that will allow each individual to live up to his or her potential. There are like-minded women out there who need not start yet another movement when they can join ours, the Junior League movement.
So for us, and I hope for all of us in this room, the question is, how much progress can we make in the next 3 years? Because if we're going to do something, let's do it now. And let's do it big. And let's reverse our trend and claim our place in the world.
And that's where all of us come in. The board can't do it alone, the staff can't do it alone, and the junior leagues cannot do this alone. We must do this together because we can be better together. I truly believe it. But what do you think? Susan and I look forward to the dialogues this afternoon and to the plenary where we'll share the ideas from the 6 sessions. Let me say this one more time. We can be better together, and together we will be unstoppable.
Thank you.
Let me get caught up. Okay. So we had announcements. Carrie?
Page 36.
Ah, found it. So, I want to say thank you for an open and rich and collaborative dialogue. Before we conclude this morning's session, I have some notes about tomorrow. As we prepare for the annual meeting tomorrow morning, let me remind you that voting delegates for each junior league must have her badge marked with a V for voting delegate, and with her for the annual business meeting, and only those wearing that voting badge may speak tomorrow. We have a keynote speaker just prior to the business meeting, and we are asking that all voting delegates arrive early so we may test that electronic voting device prior to the keynote so that we can move directly into the business meeting. All voting delegates should report to the ballroom early at 8:45 to receive and test your electronic voting device. There will be staff available to redirect you back to the same assigned seat. The room will be set the same way it is today. The governance office hours today are from 11:15 to 11:30, 2 to 2:30, and 5 to 5:30. If you wish assistance in writing an advisory resolution, please come to the governance office for help from the Rules Committee and the other HALI board members. All advisory resolutions for consideration at tomorrow's annual meeting must be turned in no later than 5:30 p.m. today in the governance office, which again is in the Cockrell Room on the mezzanine level. Leagues that wish to add or remove their names as a co-sponsor of any advisory resolution to be considered at the annual meeting may do so in the governance office no later than 5:30 this evening. And finally, if you wish to propose or sign on to an amendment to the association values, those proposals and signatures are also due by 5:30. Let me also remind you that if your league's entire delegation will be leaving before the start of the annual meeting tomorrow morning, you need to obtain a proxy from this evening. Please either come to the business table right now or come to the governance office during its open hours. Okay, thank you again. This is great practice for the annual meeting. You see how fast it is and how time goes, so please be on time. And we'll see you right back here today for the Mary Harriman Award Luncheon. And finally, you please join us in the exhibit area for our casual market reception tonight, 6:30 to 7:30, before you head out to your free evening. Thank you and have a great morning.